The new A24 film Friendship is definitely not at all what I was expecting. While I was in LA, I had the chance of going to see Friendship in 35mm at this theater called the Vista Theater, and it was so cool. It has one screen, and that one screen has around 860 seats, and it feels like you're just going back in time to watch a movie. But that's not what this video is about. It's about the new Friendship movie. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on push notifications, but let's get into today's review. Friendship follows Tim Robinson as Craig, a very socially awkward guy that has a really weird relationship with his wife and kid, but he ends up coming across his new neighbor, Austin, played by Paul Rudd, who he begins to build a relationship with. And this relationship, after hanging out a couple times, turns into a friendship, but things go south really fast when Austin decides that he does not want to continue this friendship. So Tim Robinson is a very particular character. You know, he's this comedian that does a lot of stand-up and does a lot of sketches for television shows, and this character in this movie was definitely made just for Tim Robinson. I think he's really good at acting, but at the same time, I don't really think he's acting in this movie. I think he's just playing Tim Robinson, which is exactly why this movie is so hilarious. This feels like one long episode of his show, I Think You Should Leave, and I think that's a really good thing. I am going to get into some spoiler territory, so if you don't want this movie to be spoiled, I definitely recommend just go watching it. But yeah, as I said at the beginning of this video, this was definitely not what I was expecting when going into this movie. The trailer almost made it feel like a horror or psychological thriller kind of movie, but then you watch the movie and you realize that, oh my gosh, there really is no big plot twist. This guy is just weird. Because at first I thought this movie was going to be about how, you know, he's very awkward, he is kind of a weird guy, but he does start up this relationship with this new friend, but I felt like something bad was going to happen with like his wife or something, and then that's why he couldn't continue the relationship. But turns out that Tim Robinson's character Craig is just a very, very weird dude. And he just ended up making a mistake that made a ton of people uncomfortable, and then Austin simply just didn't want to continue the friendship, which genuinely I think is just an honest like story, because once you get to that age and stuff, you're not like particularly looking for friends. You kind of just have the friends that you have, and you might, you know, open the door for someone else to potentially be a part of the friend group or something. But you know, if they mess up, you're really not losing anything saying that, you know what, I really don't want to be your friend. But sometimes people can't take that the easy way, and then they get offended like his character does in the movie, and then just continuously does stupid things. I was going in this movie expecting me to feel bad for his character, but honestly, like, I mean, he didn't do anything particularly terrible, but he definitely is just not that great of a person. But also, the comedy bits of the movie were very shocking at some parts. Like, there's one scene where I don't want to spoil it too much because it is really, really, really funny, and I think going into the scene without knowing what it is will make the scene that much funnier. But there's just one scene at the beginning of the movie where I was like, okay. And you'll know exactly what scene I'm talking about once you go see the movie. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely just another A24 banger. I think that this is just a very interesting, very unique, original movie that, you know, I feel like isn't going to be talked nearly enough, but it really should be, because it's hilarious, and it's definitely one of the most authentically funny movies that we've gotten recently. Like, it doesn't feel, you know, stereotypical or formulaic. It's just kind of like, this is just a funny movie. Now, Tim Robinson definitely does carry the comedy, which may suggest like, oh, is this actually like this funny, or is Tim Robinson just a really good comedian and really good at delivering his lines? I think it genuinely has to do with both. I think there's some really good writing here, but I think Tim Robinson just really knows how to deliver his lines. And like I said, it kind of does feel like a long episode of I Think You Should Leave. It really has that comedy of Tim Robinson just kind of yelling, saying a bunch of gibberish, and just getting mad really, really, really quickly. But at the movie's core, this is about just people being people. We're kind of thrown into Paul Rudd's friend group of the movie, and you know, in the trailer it really made it seem kind of eerie and weird, but once you think about it, you know, it's kind of like we're thrown into this friend group like how Craig's character was. You know, they have their own ideals as to how they, you know, hang out with each other and how they speak to each other and whatnot, and we're not used to that, so it seems weird. But then you realize, well, in my friend groups, we have our own, you know, interesting thing that we do. In this movie, it's being super comfortable with each other to the point where you can just sing a song with each other. And you know, sometimes it's just not worth it adding someone else to the friend group if they're gonna, you know, make dumb mistakes like how Craig does in this movie. And yes, there are definitely people in this world like Craig that, you know, try to leech on to something and then put blame onto others, you know, your average narcissist. But really, I think this movie is hilarious, and I think a lot of people are going to like it. It's not, I feel like it's not going to get the attention that it deserves while it's in theaters, but a couple months after it releases, like on DVD and streaming, people are going to be like, yo, this movie Friendship came out, and like, why did no one talk about it? Well, I'm gonna be like one of the people that prevents that from happening. Make sure to go see this movie, because it is really, really, really funny. You can be a part of the club of laughing at this movie with me. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on push notifications. But that brings you to the end of this video. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of it. I appreciate every single one of you. But remember, your movie moment is right around the corner. See you in the next video.